served in the Air Force as a aircraft electrical specialist from 1980 to 1986. When I graduated from high school at 16, all my friends were older than me, so I got out of high school at 16. I tried college, SUNY Geneseo, for about a semester, and that didn't work. I didn't like that. I didn't work up to my potential. And my first assignment was in Fort Walton Beach, in Eglin, working on F-15s. And then I was shipped over to England and lived in England for 3 years. And that's well, I feel a strong sense of duty if you can serve your country in some way or another, whether it be volunteering at a shelter or in a school or whatever. But
well, most of you know, it's Mr. Mike. So I am a 13-year Army veteran. I spent 9 years of that overseas in Europe and stuff. I was with 3rd Infantry Division, the 2nd 30th Infantry, 1st 15th, 515th, 3/4 Cav stuff, and then I came back to the States and did a spell at Department of Psychology in Fort Sam. So I worked directly with I served during Panama Invasion, served during the Bosnian Crisis, and I was in during Desert Shield, Desert Storm. So and I mean, we lost a lot of good people over there, and people don't realize the depth of what we live with, and so what we know, what we've seen, what we've trained for. People don't understand it, and they don't fathom that how you go about looking at the world and stuff. And so as a bus driver, we don't our goal is not to fail. We have to get these students to school and back home safely, and to the sports and back safely. To do that, we have to we have rules that we have to follow. And it all goes back to the days of the Army, that you learn to follow rules.
Aaron West. I'm currently the middle school principal here in Spring Lake, working with students in 7th and 8th grades. I was in the U.S. Army, and this was quite some time ago. From 1984 until 1986, I spent 2 years in an active duty assignment in the U.S. Army. My primary role during my time in the Army was my job title, I guess I should say, was motor transport operator. Sometimes I would fly in helicopters, so I would drive the general to the airport. We would go down the runway in a military vehicle. We would get out of the military vehicle, get on a helicopter, fly to a meeting on the other side of West Germany. I was stationed in West Germany when it was a divided country. This was so long ago that the Berlin Wall was still up at that time. And when you would go to the border, the East German border, you could look across the Constantina wire and you could see East German soldiers looking back at you. But it was beneficial in the fact that I went into the military as a fairly immature, naive, 18-year-old young man, and I think I left roughly 2 years later as a much more mature, much more self-disciplined, much more committed, much more dependable individual. So,
my name is Scott Ely. I'm the curriculum director for Spring Lake Public Schools. I've been in this spot for 11 years now. I started my life right out of high school with no real opportunity to go to college, not lack of desire, lack of finances. So that combined with the fact that my family, both my grandfathers were in World War II. We lost my uncle in Vietnam, and we kind of had that theme in our family that it wasn't strange to consider serving your country. And I was a cavalry scout, basically an armored scout. So we rode in armored personnel carriers, and then we would be ahead of a mechanized force of tanks, and we had air support attached to us. But we would basically move out to the front, dismount from our armored personnel carriers, and kind of sneak around and scout. And we'd call in artillery fire, we'd call in air fire. I mean, like most 18-year-olds, probably a little bit undecided on life and a little bit undisciplined maybe. Always had good work ethic, but not as disciplined in all areas. And absolutely you have to be tough mentally. I'd say the mental development of toughness was a huge element for me. I can push through most things because nothing is like that experience. Nothing has been that hard physically and mentally combined as that experience of basic and advanced infantry training you have to serve. But when I watch the older gentlemen and women that march in the parades that were in battle, it heightens my respect for them.